Hey guys, what's going on and welcome to a brand new video. This is your Premier League predictions for game week 10. Now, we've just hit 1k subscribers. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you do subscribe to the channel and also like the video because it helps with the algorithm, it helps it get out to more people. Now, let's get into my Premier League predictions for game week 10. But before we get into that, let's talk about the game week 9. So, game week 9 and my predictions. The first game of the game week was a 2-1 Leeds United win. I predicted 2-0. So, I've got one right, not the score, but I got the result right. The next game was a 2-1 win to Sunderland. I predicted a 3-1 win to Chelsea, so did not do anything there. I predicted a 2-1 win to Newcastle against Fulham, so that was right and a correct score. You then got Man United, which I said would draw 1-1 with Brighton. Yeah, that didn't happen. They won 4-2, and they might actually be back. So, yeah, got that one wrong. Then we had Brighton versus Liverpool. I predicted 2-1 Liverpool. It ended up being 3-2 to Brentford. That wasn't good either. The next game of the game week was, of course, Arsenal versus Crystal Palace, where I said Arsenal would win 2-0, and they ended up winning 1-0, so that's a right one and not a correct score, but I got it right. The next game of the game week was Aston Villa versus Man City. I said Man City will win 3-1. Aston Villa shocked them by winning 1-0. So, yeah, got that one wrong. The next game of the game week was I predicted a 2-0 win to Bournemouth against Nottingham Forest, and they ended up winning 2-0. So I got the correct result and the correct score. The next game was a 0-0 draw. I said a 0-0 draw between Wolves and Burnley. It ended up being an incredible game and a 3-2 win to Burnley in the last minute. And the last final game of the game week, I said 2-1 to Spurs against Everton, and it ended up being 3-0. So I did get 5 results right. Like, I got 5 right. Correct. I correctly guessed the winner in 5 games, and I got 2 correct scores. I will take that as that's a good week. 2 correct scores and, yeah, 5 correct results. I'll take that as a good week. Now we have to get into my game week 10 predictions. I mean, that's what we're here for, aren't we? That's what we're here for. We're all here for game week 10. Now, the first game of game week 10 is going to be Brighton versus Leeds United. Now, going into this game, of course, we're off the back of a win. Brighton are off the back of a loss. We never do well in Brighton, I'll tell you that. Going to the Amex, we never do well. We normally lose against Brighton. I don't think we have a great record. I think they're kind of a bogey team to us, in my opinion. I think they are, based off what I can remember. We always seem to not beat them, and they always seem to beat us. But I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw. I think this game will end 1-1. I think both teams, Brighton off the back of a loss, Leeds off the back of a win. Brighton at the moment are 1 point above us. So this is actually a massive game where if we can get the win, Leeds United, we can get ahead of Brighton and build that gap on the bottom 3 again. But yeah, I do think this will be a 1-1 draw between us and Brighton. The next game of the game week is Burnley versus Arsenal. I think this is maybe the easiest prediction to say who's going to win. I think it's going to be a 3-0 win to Arsenal. I think they're going to have too much for Burnley. There is that little bit of me that's like, it's at Turf Moor and it's a tough place to go, Turf Moor. They'll probably sit back, so maybe it won't be 3-0, but I think Arsenal will still get the win. But it's one of those things about this game can either go one or two ways, in my opinion. It's either Arsenal score early and they open the floodgates and they'll get 3, or they won't be able to break them down because Burnley are very strong defensively, especially at home, and it will be like a 1-0. But either way, I think Arsenal are going to win this game, but I'm going with the 3-0. I think they're going to get a couple of goals in this game, but yeah. Crystal Palace versus Brentford is the next game of the game week. We got Crystal Palace versus Brentford. Going into this game, Brentford off the back of a win against Liverpool, and Crystal Palace just lost 1-0 to Arsenal. What do I think going into this game? I think they're going to get back to winning ways, Crystal Palace, and I think this will be a Crystal Palace 2-0 win. I think they're going to have too much for Brentford. Look, Brentford had a good result against Liverpool, but I think this week they're going to lose. I think Crystal Palace are a good footballing side, and I think they'll be able to beat them. Yeah, and I say 2-0. Next game we got is Fulham versus Wolves. Now, this is a massive game. You got Fulham, who are just outside the relegation zone in 17th, versus Wolves, who are bottom of the league on 2 points without a win this season. And I'm actually going to say this game is going to end in a draw. So it's a massive game for both teams. Like, if Wolves get this win, you kind of go, maybe they do have a chance of staying up. And if Fulham get the win, I think that kind of says, like, they start pushing away from the relegation zone this week. And it's one of those things about, I don't think Fulham will go down at the end of the season, but at the moment, no one's really talking about Fulham as a potential team that can get relegated, but they're not performing, and they're in a position where they could be in the relegation zone very soon if they don't pick up some points soon. But yeah, I think this game is actually going to end 1-1, and it's going to be a draw. So I'm going to say a draw between Fulham and Wolves. Next game we got is Nottingham Forest. So we got Forest versus Manchester United. I think Man United is going to have way too much for Forest. Forest have been poor this season. They're in the relegation zone. That's another team that are in the fight for relegation at the moment. Yep, in the bottom 3 at the moment. And I think Man United are going to have too much for them. I think they're going to win this game 3-1. So it's going to be a 3-1 Man United win, which will keep Nottingham Forest in that relegation zone They'll keep him down there. The next game we got is actually Spurs versus Chelsea. A massive game. Both teams, of course, want to win the rivalry. And yeah, what do I think this game is going to end? I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to Spurs. I think Spurs are actually going to win this game 2-1. I think they're going to score one goal from a corner. I have a feeling they're going to score again from a corner. And yeah, but I do think they're going to win this game 2-1 Spurs. I know Chelsea don't normally lose to Spurs, but I have this feeling that Spurs, off the back of their win against Everton where they beat them 3-0 and off the back of Chelsea losing to Sunderland 2-1, I feel like Spurs are going to go into this game with more confidence, and I think they're going to win this game because I think defensively, Chelsea looks shaky, and I think they'll concede at least one. I mean, this game could be anything. It could be like 4-2, 4-3, but yeah, I'm going 2-1 to Spurs. A 2-1 Spurs win against Chelsea. The next game we got is Liverpool versus Aston Villa. Now, Villa, of course, off the back of a win against Manchester City, while Liverpool have been very poor. They're on a 5-game losing streak, and I think that won't continue in this game. I don't think it will continue, but Liverpool aren't going to win. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. A 1-1 draw between Liverpool and Aston Villa. So again, Liverpool fans will not like that if that comes through. Because they're basically, at this moment, you look at it and you're like, Liverpool can't really drop any more points. They need to start winning and hoping that Arsenal drop points soon if they want to win this league. Yeah, it's starting to push away from them. It's starting to push away from everyone, actually. And Arsenal are trying to suddenly just going for the title. It went from like, oh, there'll be a tight race between Liverpool and Arsenal, and maybe Man City will sneak in there, to right now everyone thinking, wow, Arsenal could just run away with them. There might be no title race. But yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw between Liverpool and Aston Villa. Next game of the game week is West Ham versus Newcastle. West Ham have been so poor this season, and I think that form will continue against Newcastle. They have conceded West Ham 9 goals from corners, I think it is, or 9 goals from set pieces, which is why I do think they're going to concede another one from a set piece, it feels like, because they've conceded 9 already this season, which, yeah, and I feel like Voltemade is going to be the man that gets his head onto it, and yeah, I'm going to say Newcastle win this game 2-0, and yeah, that keeps West Ham in a very dangerous place on only 4 points this season with a win and a draw, and that's it. Very, very bad for West Ham, and they could be in a lot of trouble. They need to pick up some points soon. And yes, but I don't think they will in this game because I think Newcastle are too strong for them and they'll win this game 2-0. Next game we got is Manchester City versus Bournemouth. For me, I think this is going to be a very good game. Bournemouth are flying this season versus Man City, who just lost to Aston Villa. I think this game is going to end 2-1, but I do think Manchester City are going to win this game. I think City are going to have too much for Bournemouth in this game, but I think it's going to be one of those where it's like a tight game, and Man City are going to score like it's going to be past the 80th minute where they score that winner to make it 2-1. So I think it's going to be a close game, and yeah, I think it's going to be 2-1 to Manchester City. And the final game of the game we've got is Sunderland at home against Everton. The Stadium of Light is going to be rocking. It's going to be bouncing like it does for every home game. And I just think they're going to have they're not going to have too much for Everton, sorry. I think they're going to be able to get a point out this game. I think Sunderland and Everton are going to go and have a 1-1 draw. So I do think this game is going to end in a draw. To end the game week, and because I think Sunderland are playing absolutely amazing at the moment. You got Everton who are having a good season as well, and I think this game kind of has, for me, a draw written all over it, so I do think it's going to end in a draw. And these are my score predictions for Game Week 10. Let me know what your score predictions are in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.